Hey everyone, it's Rayah. I'm your host, and this is the Depth of Echoes podcast, episode 2. Thank you so much for your patience while we have been slowly editing this episode for you. Sean and Crystal's story is really quite lovely, but I'm very embarrassed over my own voice quality during the interview, so took a little creative editing. We also had our own psychiatric emergency that happened, so you'll hear all about that in episode 3. So let's dive deep into mental illness with Sean and Crystal. We'll hear more about their experiences as a married couple, Sean's experience as someone who has been trying to find a diagnosis while living with major depressive episodes and suicidal ideation. We'll also talk a little bit more about why it's so important to catch mental illness early and what types of signs you should be looking for in both adults and adolescents. Then we'll wrap it up with a clip from episode 3. Welcome to the Depth of Echoes podcast, where we dive deep into mental illness. Our goal is to reclaim community for those suffering with mental illness through education and empathy. Please remember, we are not medical professionals, and the guests that are interviewed on the show are providing general information and sharing their experiences. Please check with your healthcare provider before adding, removing, or changing any part of your treatment plan or medications. This show may contain stories with violence, situations of a sexual nature, or content that may be otherwise inappropriate for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. So, Sean and Crystal, let's start off with this one. What has your mental health and mental illness experience been like?
As far as mental health in the family or any issues there, I'm not really positive. I don't have like a close relationship with a lot of my family members. And the other half, my mother's side, I don't know anything about. So I have no idea. But yeah, mine has been like one of repression, I guess. I've just been I didn't really think about how everything was really crazy when I was a kid. Like, I didn't think about... I guess I don't have memories from my early childhood, like, especially, like, in the single digits. I don't know, I always felt really, like, off, weird about, like, I just felt like I'd never really belonged, I never really fit in, I really had no value, and I just kind of make a lot of mistakes. I have no skills or accuracy or anything. I can't play any sports. I'm just okay at video games. I don't know. So I had like a really hard time with that. But recently in my adult years, I'm starting to remember more of my childhood and putting together context of situations. And that's most of the journey, really. And then medication to help stabilize my mood and whatnot.
Yeah, as we started kind of journeying into taking care of Sean's mental health and like understanding what that was going to entail, his friends were not even aware of how dark of a place he was in.
Yeah, like I never really talked about it. I grew up Catholic and conservative, not by my choice. But so Catholicism instills kind of like a deep sense of guilt and
guilty
regret.
By default.
Yeah, and regret, and then and they don't believe in mental illness, of course. And then conservative side of the world doesn't believe in mental illness for the most part. Maybe I might be generalizing too much, but when I was a kid, it wasn't like that. So I didn't really say anything out of fear of like retaliation. And I think I just got into like Goosebumps and Harry Potter and Pokemon and stuff like that, and kind of pushed through until my adult years, and I was finally on my own.
So then, who was the first person that you opened up to about your depression and the way you actually felt about life and your struggles with mental illness?
Crystal. She was the first one I said anything to. Because I would always complain about working at Starbucks and just how like crappy it was and how everything sucks, and then I just admitted it's not the job, it's that I'm just unhappy with everything. But I did feel a lot of safety with her, even early on. We have a really similar sense of humor and style of thinking. I don't know, I felt respect like for me and everything about me, so she wouldn't accidentally hurt me even, you know? So I felt like it was worth the risk, I guess, and it worked out, so.
For my own personal experience with mental illness, like I've only experienced like situational depression or anxiety or burnout. It's nothing biological or like lasting. Right before I moved up to Maine, I started having panic attacks at work. And that was really bad. I would like burst into tears when people asked me how I was doing. So I can take seriously how debilitating mental illness can be just because of the things I've experienced in doses. Like, I don't like when people are like, oh, everybody gets anxious, everybody gets depressed, and just think you can push through it because, like, oh, that's a state of being that comes and goes. Like, I can understand that for the dosage of, like, those bad times that I've felt, to be in a place where that never fully leaves you, like, that seems really debilitating. And so, like, I take it really seriously.
According to Mental Health America, early identification, accurate diagnosis, and effective treatment of mental health and substance use conditions can alleviate enormous suffering for young people and their families dealing with behavioral health challenges. Providing early care can help young people to more quickly recover and benefit from their education, to develop positive relationships, to gain access to employment, and to ultimately lead more meaningful and productive lives. And really, that's what we all want, especially for the future of America, right?
After I lost my job at a baking company, everything kind of just like spiraled out of control and it got really bad. As far as the stigmas around it, I think just the fear of, like, based on my childhood and how I handled myself through those events and just distracted myself and how I grew up, I had a fear of really just bringing up suicidal thoughts. I had a fear of, like, just telling someone I'm not happy and I don't feel like living anymore.
According to the CDC, each year more than 41,000 individuals die by suicide, leaving behind thousands of friends and family members to navigate the tragedy of their loss. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the U.S. and is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 24, and these rates are increasing.
You might get some retaliation or be attacked, of like, how dare you say something like that? That's awful. You need to get help. It's always like a negative experience, and I didn't want to go through with any of that. I didn't think anybody could really understand. And I think because of that fear, I probably would have gotten help a lot sooner in my life, because now it's like I'm like 30 and I'm kind of struggling with this shit, trying to figure anything out. But I might have taken care of this when I was a teenager or younger, if I had opened up about it.
In order to prevent these things at an early stage, we need to know what kind of signs we're looking for. Keep in mind as I go through this list from the National Alliance on Mental Illness that all of these terms are kind of relative to your own experience. So when it says excessive, that means more than your normal. So your normal may not be someone else's. So just keep that in mind. You are the one who sets that meter, and you're the one who will be able to tell when it's more or less than you think that it should be. Excessive worrying or fear, or feeling sad or low in an excessive amount, confused thinking or problems concentrating and learning, extreme mood changes, including uncontrollable highs or feelings of euphoria, prolonged or strong feelings of irritability or anger, avoiding friends and social activities, difficulties understanding or relating to other people, changes in sleeping habits or feeling tired and low energy, changes in eating habits when you have an increase in hunger or a decrease in your appetite, changes in sex drive, difficulty perceiving reality. So maybe you're having delusions or hallucinations. You're having trouble figuring out which things exist in objective reality. The inability to perceive changes in one's own feelings, behavior, or personality. So a lack of insight on yourself. So that's something that maybe a friend or family member would have to be able to be honest with you about. Also, abuse of substances like alcohol or drugs. Multiple physical ailments without obvious causes, like headaches, stomach aches, vague and ongoing aches and pains, things you can't really pinpoint but you're experiencing. Thinking about suicide. The inability to carry out daily activities or handle daily problems and stress. Or an intense fear of weight gain or concern with appearance. Mental health conditions can also begin to develop in young children, such as with my husband. He started experiencing his first symptoms around 9 years old. Because they're still learning how to identify and talk about thoughts and emotions, their most obvious symptoms are behavioral. Symptoms in children may include the following: changes in school performance, excessive worry or anxiety, like fighting to avoid bed or school, hyperactive behavior, frequent nightmares, temper tantrums, disobedience, or aggression. So what has treatment looked like for you then?
Well, I've seen some therapists, and the thing is I don't know what I'm looking for when I'm going to get therapy or counseling. Is like, I'm just gonna go and sit there and like say the same thing that I've already said, like however many times now, and they're just gonna tell me to like be mindful of stuff, and it's like, I guess that's not what I'm looking for. So it's like, how can I figure out where I'm at? And I haven't gotten a diagnosis with any of the like appointments or checkups or tests or anything that I've been in. So I don't really know what to target, but tomorrow actually I have an appointment with a new therapist. So, and now I have a better idea of what to focus on.
Are you currently taking any medication?
I'm on a lithium carbonate. I think it's 100 milligrams twice daily, and on Paxil, the generic of Paxil, and that's 40 milligrams once a day. I've been on it, I've been off and on, like, I've been trying different medications since...
Basically since we got married.
Yeah,
like in May,
so.
you were on my insurance, and that's when they started, like, prescribing you things to try.
Okay. So yeah, I've switched a lot of stuff. I've forgotten to take doses, but I've never intentionally stopped yet without any guidance. But yeah, missing a dose sucks, I can say that. It's a really terrible feeling.
And have you guys had any trouble with side effects? Have you noticed anything? And have the side effects that you have noticed, have they been tolerable for you? Or are the side effects what have you switching drugs? I know for us, it's like sometimes it doesn't work. And then other times it's like, whoa, that side effect is really way too much and he needs to switch off of it. So what has that journey been like for you?
Well, I get really drowsy, especially with the Paxil. The lithium carbonate it's like a natural salt that I don't know where it's found, but that dehydrates me like crazy, so I have to drink a ton of water or I will, I don't know, pass out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we started buying coconut water to help like keep him hydrated because someone recommended Pedialyte, and I just was like, oh, it's basically just electrolytes and corn syrup,
Yeah.
so I could.
And then some, if I don't know if I can get, if you don't mind saying, the sexual side effects sometimes like are pretty affecting. Just like that, I don't know if it's dehydration or I don't know what it is, but like I just sometimes can't ejaculate, and it's just really weird. But that's about it, I guess, as far as side effects.
Yeah, and it'll be listed as a side effect that it's like difficulty or painful ejaculation, and it sucks because like if we like want to have sex, then it's like a panic of like, is it gonna be worth it, or like is this gonna suck for you?
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
Some of the medications have been better than others with that. Like Zoloft was terrible.
Yeah, it's like the worst
And
thing.
like Paxil is like not doing great just with this upped dose that you're on now. Like before it wasn't an issue, and then we upped the dosage, and now it's like, oh crap, I guess we gotta go back on that now.
So how else has Sean's mental illness affected your marriage?
You wanna?
Yeah, being married is just awesome, I think. And it hasn't really changed the situation other than helping it, really, because like once we got married, he was able to be on my health insurance, so then his care wasn't as cost prohibitive. We didn't move in together until we were married, so like it's just easier to be around each other, and like it's easier if he's having like a really dark day. I don't have to I can't get in touch with him, like where is he, you know? So really being married has only made that aspect easier for me.
I don't know. For me, it's, I don't know how to say this. I don't know. I definitely maybe it's just the way I think about myself in certain situations. I'm a little bit more cynical and pessimistic in general, but I think there is maybe some strain since I'm not working. Crystal takes care of all the finances, all of that. She's the only one working. And I'm not really doing anything. I'm not learning anything. I don't have any projects. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a lot of dead weight, and that might be putting strain on things. I don't know if you feel that.
I don't. I actually, from my perspective, like, I all the time am seeing this progress that you make and being so proud of you and like bragging to other people about it. And then come home and you're like, I haven't done anything. But it's like you've hit these like bigger goals of yours, like quitting cigarettes, and like that took a couple of tries, but you did it, and like it saved us money. And like our cat got fleas, but Sean is here and he's like vacuuming the house every day and making sure like. And like we got a cat, which was actually really helpful. I think like I saw definitely a positive change in you like once we got Jack.
Yeah, I love that cat.
But like that cat was at the shelter for several months before he was adopted, and like now he has Sean to bond with, so it's like that's important. Like I don't feel any extra burden on myself because I'm not doing anything different. I'm very fortunate to have a job that pays me enough that all I had to do was rework our budget and now pay attention. And so like for me, it's helped my financial discipline. Like I feel like I'm better at adulting now. So it's been beneficial like in that way. I wish that you weren't going through like the painful things, but like I never feel like you're just dead weight on me. Like I feel like I'm constantly growing and thinking about new things because of you. I also will say there was a time last November I threw my back out like really badly and I couldn't even get out of bed and I couldn't do anything. And so like Sean had to do everything for me, and I felt like a piece of crap, like that I couldn't contribute to anything, and like I was just laying there all day, and like there was a lot of guilt that came with that. So like I understand where like you're coming from with that too, Sean, and like I feel like if I was in your position I wouldn't be able to stave off that guilt either. Even though like in reality I don't feel that about you, but yeah, I can definitely relate to.
So do you guys have any advice for other people who are in a similar situation?
I don't, because I'm still really new to exploring mental illness, and I consider myself really lucky with my support group. Like I have a family that cares about me, a loving wife, and a good group of friends. I have a lot of video games and books and stuff. I have a lot of things. I have just a really strong support group, I guess. So there are people that don't have any of this and they're struggling with what I'm struggling, and I don't know how you would help somebody like that. I don't know. I wish I had more advice, but I don't know.
You're still working through it.
Yeah, it just seems like hard, and like to tell somebody like, oh, maybe it's not that bad, but it's like,
no, it's
fuck
like
you, it's
really
not,
bad.
It's not that bad. Like you have a great support group. What are you talking about? I have no friends and no family that cares about me.
Right.
You know? So yeah, it can be hard, I think.
I would say I want to just repeat some advice that I got from someone else that like super stuck with me. She basically, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was basically like people who are giving you advice about things that impact just you and the people in your household, take that with a grain of salt. Like you have to make the decisions that impact your life. And so that helped me to be more confident about the way that we handle things, because like everybody thinks they have a solution and it's well intentioned, but you know, sometimes it's just not helpful. So
Crystal, what would you say the most important part is of caring for Sean or caring for a loved one with a mental illness?
But I really try to like take care of myself because I feel like I'm always in a better place to help him if I'm in a better place myself. And like he doesn't always need help, but it's just like if things get bad, I don't want to be having a bunch of my own repressed garbage in my head. Like if I get upset about something, I try to sit with the feeling and like understand it and like let it pass, instead of just being like, I don't have time for this and bottling it, which like sometimes I don't have time for it and it's hard not to do that. But the things that I do to help him are take care of myself, give him space when he needs it, and just kind of try and reinforce when I see him making progress, I tell him what I see. Because I know that for him it's hard to see himself, like the things that he's doing that are impressive. And like Sean is so mindful of his environment and so like courteous, and like just like little things. Like I remember like when we first got married, I noticed one of the plants needed water and I went to work, and like when I came home the plant was like fine, like the leaves were up, and I just like I didn't ask him to do, like he just notices stuff and takes care of it. And so like I don't know, I'm just always like, man, you're so awesome, I don't have to ask you to do anything. Like
I love that I can hear the smile in your voice when you talk about Sean. So Crystal, I know that Sean's history with the Catholic Church and his upbringing has impacted his mental illness and his journey. How has your religious background impacted the way you relate to Sean and the way that you've dealt with mental illness in your life?
I'm a Christian. I grew up super Christian, and like I was part of like True Love Waits, like A Kiss Dating Goodbye and all that. So like I never dated anybody, and like my physical like affection with anybody was like very minimal. So like now like I kind of felt like I was just like, I don't want anyone to touch me. And like I understand now that it was just that like I just needed to be like comfortable and like free in like I didn't want people to touch me, I think because I didn't want to open up myself to feeling like I want more than this now. Like we're holding hands and I want more than this. Like I didn't have the energy to stop it. So it's just like, okay, nothing. Nobody touch me. And so with Sean, it's like I am free like to touch him. And so like I have learned that I'm actually extremely clingy physically. So like all the time I'm like, come here, let me cuddle you. And he's like, no, I don't feel like it right now.
Yeah, like based on my history, like I don't really like to be touched a whole lot. So it's like, I don't know, sometimes it's a paradox.
Yeah, and so like sometimes, yeah, I do have to find something else to fill that void, which is usually like eating whipped cream or something. And I would cuddle the cat, but the cat likes him more than me, so I'm still working on how to alleviate that. But it definitely is super helpful to have people to talk to, and I certainly am lucky in that regard. I have plenty of people that I can level with. Like I can call, text, go see. Like I have a community, and that's invaluable. It would be a lot harder to handle anything without that. I also, like, when I was a teenager, I was kind of drawn to people that were hurting, and I don't think that was intentional, but I was kind of encouraged away from that. Like, these people are going to suck the life out of you, and like, I was encouraged to stay away from some of the people that I found myself in close friendships with. For that reason, where like my parents or whoever else was like concerned that it was going to take too much out of me, or that it was like coming from some need of mine to be needed by people and it wasn't actually selfless. So like I second guessed that a lot in my adulthood, but now that I'm separate from that and I kind of am able to like recategorize all of my experiences, when Sean and I have been going through hardship, or particularly Sean's going through hardship and it's hard on me to watch, I've had people say to me like, I am the Sean in my relationship, and like I get anxious about everything and I'm depressed and like I feel like I'm annoying everyone, and like it's inspiring to me to see the patience that you have and like how much you love him and like you don't get angry at him for it, or and so like that was super encouraging to me, where it's like, no, this is a good thing. Like this isn't about like you're taking too much out of me so I have to go. Like that's selfish, and I don't feel that way.
What are some of the ways that your local community and your family and friends can support you? Or how might someone in a similar situation reach out and support to a friend?
I end up having like people want to give me advice or tell me what to do next to handle Sean's health. So I like it better when people are willing to listen to me or spend time with me and talk about something else, talk about something goofy, or just do something. I used to go get a drink, go get a coffee, just spend time with me and like help me feel that like it just makes everything so much easier. So like I would advise people like to treat friendships with people like me, I guess, with withholding advice. Like don't feel like you have to be prescriptive in your spending time with them. Like just give me that companionship right now, and then I'll like the edge will be taken off of my stress, and then I'm in a better place to like be there for Sean with whatever he needs, or just take care of whatever situation needs attention without like burdening him with it. Like I can handle it.
Just respect, just basic respect for the fact that it's another human being, that I'm another human being, that we're all people here and we all operate differently. Just understanding just basic humanity would be like a really good step, and just taking this person with respect and taking them seriously with what they have, listening to them, and not not giving like your 2 cents of like I found some pseudo intellectual helpful thing on Facebook that I can quote at you or something. Like just genuine respect and compassion for what you're going through, and just listen. I think that's most of it, is just having somebody to listen to you, and then I don't know, advice can come later, I guess, but that's the first step, is just listening to somebody.
Yeah, being listened to and being taken seriously goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Sean and Crystal, for coming on and sharing just a little bit about your story and being so honest and frank about what you guys have experienced and what you've gone through. Sean, I know you have a podcast, or two, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about those so that we can go check those out?
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So I am a co-host of a movie podcast called Mondo Cool Movie Dudes. It's just three rough and tumble, rude, get 'em done kind of dudes that review movies. And we do everything. I don't think there's a limit to like what movies we'll watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in the movies you've done.
Yeah, and so you can find those on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and we have a website where you can find all the episodes and where we're at on at mondocoolmovies.com. And then I have my own personal podcast called named the Goodsoup Hotel, which is it's a video game podcast. Not necessarily like a review podcast, but more of like a discussion or love letters to video games, kind of like uber romantic. I got the name Goodsoup Hotel from this game called The Curse of Monkey Island, which is an old PC point-and-click adventure. In a weird kind of poetic, romantic way, I think of the Goodsoup Hotel's name reflecting the state of gaming in general, and how like we're not so concerned about what makes a good game, but what is the technical end of a good game, and like what is the technology and like gadgets you can have to make this better, and it has nothing to do with anything. So I kind of want to move the discussion back to that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I didn't know that's why you chose that name. That's really cool.
It is.
Want to give a special thanks to our Patreon supporters. That is Carly, Omar and Elizabeth, Delise, Crystal and Sean, and Alicia. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. It means a lot to us that you support what we're doing.
Thank you so much for joining us again for episode number 2. Come back next time when Richie and I will be sharing about our trip to the ER last week and his subsequent stay at the psych ward. This makes for 4 trips in the last 10 months. If you want to support what we're doing, there's a couple different ways. Share the podcast with family and friends, and please, please, please leave a review. Reviews help tell iTunes that people like what we're doing, so they'll boost us up on the listings. Another thing you can do, if you have a few extra dollars laying around, you can contribute to our Patreon for as little as $1 per month. That's www.patreon.com/depthofechoes. No spaces. We're also out there on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Depth of Echoes. If you would like to engage with our blossoming little Facebook community, join the Echo Chamber group on Facebook. We have had an absolutely wonderful time engaging with you guys and getting to know you all. It's really been a lot of fun, and I feel like we're already getting pretty deep. We are, of course, open to comments and suggestions, tips, anything that you guys want to hear, or anything that you think we are missing or would like to talk about, corrections, all that stuff. We're open. So definitely reach out to us. You can email us at hello@depthofechoes.com. Here is a clip from episode number 3, where Richie shares just a little bit more about what it's like in the psych ward.
And then, you got other people around the hospital, and it's not what most people think it is. It's not like what Hollywood portrays it. There's crazy people, there's people crying, or people freaking out all the time, or there's someone in the hallway, breaking down. It's pretty calm most of the time. I mean, occasionally, in the ward I was in, there was like maybe one person that was kind of freaking out, and they had get some extra staff members, but nothing intense, nothing like people running around screaming and all that. And you get to interact with other people, and after, because I spent the first couple days in the psych ward, I just pretty much kept to myself. I didn't really go out to the day room and interact with anybody. I just lay down, kept to myself. The only time I'd come out is maybe to walk a couple laps up and down the halls or go eat. So, but after those couple days, I started kind of coming out of my shell a little bit, I would say, and just started seeing and interacting with people, and realized a lot of these people in here in the psych ward are just normal people. I mean, I met a guy in there who was in there because he was bipolar and he had a manic episode, and so he was just there to kind of stabilize, and he seemed like a normal guy, cool to hang out with. I mean, there wasn't like crazy people jabbering themselves or anything like that. It just seemed like there was normal people who have other mental illnesses and they're in there trying to recover.